For some reason, it took 2 weeks, but we finally have the document of Midjourney's reply to the Warner Brothers lawsuit against them. And as you might figure, it's very similar to the response they made to Disney, so it won't take us a whole lot of time to go over it. But I did just want to cover it quickly to point out the hypocrisy of all of this. This is not about, oh, they're stealing works from artists. No. As I've pointed out repeatedly, this is about them controlling content. Yeah, this is not about supporting the artist. It's not about supporting the filmmaker. It's not about protecting their property. It's about them being in control of what everyone says. And we'll see it outright with their hypocrisy. It's the exact same hypocrisy we saw with Disney. And in their preliminary statement, they say, after months of waiting on the sidelines, Warner Brothers Discovery now joins Disney and Universal in targeting Midjourney over its generative AI-based creativity tools. In lockstep with its fellow media behemoths, Warner styles itself as a defender of artists and creative professionals against imagined threats from artificial intelligence. But this is a misdirection. Midjourney seeks to enhance, not replace, human expression. Warner seeks to restrict it by using copyright as a cudgel to deny the public the ability to do with AI tools what generations of individuals have lawfully done with pencils and notebooks. And isn't that what they always say? Just pick up a pencil. Well, if it's legal to do it with a pencil, it's legal to do it with AI. If it's legal to do, it doesn't matter how you do it. Bottom of the next page, plaintiffs for their part have benefited and continue to benefit from Midjourney and other similar generative AI tools. Indeed, a number of Midjourney subscribers are associated with plaintiffs' corporate email addresses, and Midjourney is also a popular tool among the visual effects companies and other vendors employed by plaintiffs. So they're using Midjourney, and then they sue Midjourney. Exactly like we saw with Disney. Years after its launch, plaintiffs now take aim at Midjourney in 2 ways. First, they allege that the process of training an AI model on billions of images violates their rights, even though only a small fraction of those images may contain individual frames from plaintiffs' films and shows. As a matter of equity, plaintiffs cannot have it both ways, seeking to profit through their use of Midjourney and other generative AI tools from industry-standard AI training practices on the one hand, while on the other hand, accusing Midjourney of wrongdoing for the same. But plaintiffs are also wrong on the merits. Copyright law does not confer absolute control over the use of copyrighted works. The limited monopoly granted by copyright must give way to fair use, which safeguards countervailing public interests in the free flow of ideas and information. I feel like I have to point it out again. The constitutional power is not copyrights and patents. The constitutional power is to promote the progress of science and useful arts. But they're not promoting progress here. They're trying to stifle it. Plaintiffs complain that Midjourney has created and displayed images that incorporate characters from popular film and television series, that these images are per se infringing, and that Midjourney is liable for their creation. They also level claims that Midjourney is responsible for user-generated videos, notwithstanding that video generation with Midjourney can currently only occur from an image prompt selected by a user. Plaintiffs' framing is premised on mischaracterizations of how Midjourney works and its role in the creative process. The Midjourney platform is an instrument for user expression. It assists with the creation of images only at the direction of its users, guided by their instructions in what is often an elaborate and time-consuming process of experimentation, iteration, and discovery. And that's the thing about this. If the users are infringing, go after the users. But they don't do that. They go after Midjourney. It's just like we see in the Cox case. That has nothing to do with AI, but instead of going after these individual people they say are infringing, they go after Cox. Because Cox sold them internet access. Because Cox sells everyone internet access. That's what they do. And some people used that internet access to infringe, so they went after Cox. Hopefully the Supreme Court will smack that down, but we see the same kind of thinking here. Go after the big company with the deep pockets instead of the people who are actually doing the thing you don't like. The law does not require Midjourney to presuppose whether any particular image is infringing, absent notice from a copyright owner and information regarding how the image is used. The Midjourney service is capable of virtually limitless, inarguably non-infringing uses, including as to images incorporating characters from popular culture like those claimed by plaintiffs, for which there are any number of legitimate non-infringing grounds for creation, including non-commercial fan art, experimentation and ideation, and social commentary and criticism. Plaintiffs seek to stifle them all. They don't care if it's fair use or not. They want to take down the tool in its entirety. In the end, this case is not about Midjourney profiteering off of what plaintiffs call infringement. Midjourney isn't. Nor is it about any purported harm to plaintiffs. They have identified none. Rather, this case is about whether plaintiffs' alleged copyrights entitle them to prohibit the use of their works to train generative AI models and to prevent the incorporation of elements of those works within the creations of generative AI users, regardless of the contents of those creations and the ultimate ends to which users put them. Plaintiffs are not so entitled, and that's mirroring the language they used in Disney. So just to skip to the end and show you their claims, their first offense is fair use. Their second is that plaintiffs don't own the copyrights or otherwise lack standing. The third is that they have licensed, actual, or implied one or more of the asserted works. The fourth is acquiescence, estoppel, and waiver. Midjourney is informed and believes, and on that basis alleges, that one or more of the images that plaintiffs allege infringe their copyrights were created by plaintiffs or agents thereof. You remember we looked at that. The plaintiffs themselves had people like Reed Southern, remember that guy? Using Midjourney to make infringing works, and then they went, look, minions! Look, we were able to use your software to create infringing works, therefore your software is infringing. The fifth is the doctrine of unclean hands. Plaintiffs use and benefit from generative AI models, including Midjourney, and including in connection with some or all of the asserted works. Plaintiffs are, like Midjourney, directly or indirectly engaged in training generative AI models on publicly available works, some of which are protected by copyrights owned by third parties. Accordingly, it will be inequitable to permit plaintiffs to benefit from the development and use of generative AI models, including Midjourney on the one hand, and on the other hand, prevent the development and use of Midjourney by others. Yeah, you freaking hypocrites! See, that's the thing. They want to be able to do it as much as they want. They just don't want you to be able to do it. That's what this has always been about. And the sixth is that it's de minimis. The seventh is that plaintiffs have not provided Midjourney with adequate notice of specific instances of purported copyright infringement by Midjourney users. Midjourney is entitled to avail itself to the infringement safe harbors codified in 17 U.S.C. Section 512. As alleged above, plaintiffs have not complied with the provisions of the DMCA. They didn't even issue DMCA takedown notices. They didn't say, hey, yeah, this violates copyright, take it down. Probably because they were the ones who made it. That would be a thing, wouldn't it? You go and you use it to make infringing and then send a DMCA notice against them for infringing. That's totally crazy, but that's where we are. And it's just one more example of how they don't mean what they say, and that these cases are not about what the big content cartels and all their pundits and useful idiots keep saying it is. We've got proof positive right here, and we've got proof positive coming up in another couple of videos, so stick around for those. Until then, comments for the comment god, shares for the share throne. Please hit like, subscribe, and the bell. And of course, donate.bogosity.tv keeps me doing this. Whether it's one-time donations or regular support with Patreon, Subscribestar, or Discord, thank you so very much for watching. Until next time, stay strong and be free.